So the other day I was trying to get back from London to my home in Bedfordshire, and no one knows where Bedfordshire is. I don't know where Bedfordshire is, but it's where I live. And I was at King's Cross station, and there were a few cancellations, and then there were lots of cancellations, and then pretty much the whole station ground to a halt, and it filled up with people. And the reason they gave was that the line was closed due to an incident at Welwyn Garden City. And at that point I bumped into a friend, and he explained to me that incident generally means suicide. But they don't like to call it that because of copycats, which is kind of depressing in its own right. Anyway, this friend of mine has a friend who works on the railways, and that's how he knew all of that. And apparently this guy was saying that you always get more suicides in times of recession. And I kind of thought, God, that's awful, but that makes sense. But I started looking online, and there's an article which I'll post the link to underneath, and it's really worth reading properly. But it actually says it's not to do with recession. The correlation, when you adjust for recession and things like that, is actually with Conservative governments. Suicide rates go up demonstrably during Conservative governments. And it's held true, that trend, for the last 100 years. Not only that, it's held true across all the Anglophone nations. So Australia is the same, and America is the same. And they've adjusted in this research for all kinds of factors. So annual changes in GDP, world wars, the availability of sedatives, and even drought. They factored all of these things in, and yet it's and even when the Conservatives made that claim, you've never had it so good. Even then, suicide rates were higher than under a Labour government, which is incredible to me, and I wouldn't necessarily have thought. But the fact remains, if you're a male in the UK and you're under 50, you're most likely to die of suicide. It's the same if you're a woman under 34. Lots of people die. They're saying over the last 100 years, 35,000 more people died simply by dint of the fact that it was a Conservative government. They're saying in this research that if we were to pay for funding for GPs to undergo suicide prevention training, you'd prevent 600 to 700 deaths a year, and it would pay for itself within that year. It seems that the more money you put into mental health, actually the more you get out of it. And there was lots of facts about that I can't find right now, but it doesn't matter. You can read it. Just read it. It's really good. And yet the Conservatives have just slashed £35 million, at least, I think, in the last year from the budget. I think it's something like 100 million over the last few years. And so it's pretty awful, really. And the point being, it's not actually about saving money. What is this about? Because all of these tests from lots of independent bodies are sort of saying, put the money into mental health and you make the money back. And it seems that it's not about that. So what is it about? Why won't you spend the money on it? I don't understand. You're going against all of the evidence. So what is that about? Why would you make that decision? I just don't understand. There's also strong evidence to support the fact that most people who do commit suicide regret it kind of right before they die, sadly. It's just tragic. You think of the fallout, and I hope it never affects you or anyone you know, and I hope that, I mean, maybe you don't care about this, I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe, you feel that these people, if they decide to do that, they decide to do that, and, all you want is to be able to get home on time, but I think it's pretty awful and it's pretty shocking, and it sort of goes against the whole idea of being a civilization to me. But I would welcome your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.